This is the Combat Action Tourniquet, also known as the CAT tourniquet from North American Rescue. It's probably the most common tourniquet that law enforcement uses and the military. In this video, I'm going to show you how to set it up properly, different ways that you can store it on your gear, and the one thing that you need to know to make sure you apply it properly. There's a number of different ways that you can carry the CAT tourniquet on your gear. North American Rescue has some Kydex pouches and some cloth pouches, and there's also some other companies out there that make Kydex pouches that attach the tourniquet to the outside of your holster. My recommendation is that you find a way to attach the tourniquet to your equipment that you use every day. So for most officers, it's going to be their patrol belt. That way you know you always have it on you and you're not going to leave the house without it. Once you receive your tourniquet, it's going to come wrapped up in plastic, and depending on which generation you get, maybe you're getting it from your department, maybe it's an older generation, it's going to have this double buckle here, and North American Rescue actually got rid of the double buckle and only has a single loop here. So the first thing that we're going to do once we open it up and we pull it out is we're going to make sure that our strap is only through one portion of this buckle. The reason that we're going to do that is because it just makes it easier to adjust the strap. Now, it doesn't really matter which portion of the buckle you decide to go through, but in this case it's already up at the top, so we're just going to leave it there. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to make sure that we put about 1 finger length up above the windlass clip, and then we're going to pull the red tab down until it's equal with the back side of the tourniquet. So just about there. And once it's there, I'm going to reach up and put about 1 finger length below the buckle and then simply mate the two ends together. And once that's done, your tourniquet is set up. Now that we talked about how to set up your tourniquet and different ways that you can store it on your gear, we're going to talk about when a tourniquet is actually needed. So the very first thing that you're going to need to do is identify with your patient whether or not they have an arterial bleed. Again, it might be pretty obvious a tourniquet is needed, but we might want to remove some equipment or some clothing to clearly identify that that is the case and that the wound isn't junctional.
690 Sangamon! Squad, we're taking one PO to UFC right now.
An arterial bleed should be pretty obvious. You're going to see a heavy flow of bright red blood that doesn't stop with direct pressure. For whatever reason, I've heard a number of cops say that they put on tourniquets just in case, and we really don't want to put a tourniquet on somebody who doesn't need one, because technically speaking, if a tourniquet is on too long, they could lose their limb, although I don't think that's ever happened. But we don't want to make it common practice to make the situation more uncomfortable for somebody who doesn't need a tourniquet. The one thing that you need to know to ensure that you put a tourniquet on correctly is that once you identify with your patient that they do indeed have an arterial bleed on an extremity that requires a tourniquet, and you grab your tourniquet and you begin to administer it to the patient, the very first thing that you need to do once you pull out your tourniquet and open it up is you need to make sure that the red tab is facing away from the person's heart or going away from the inside of their body. So if my patient was laying face up, I would apply the tourniquet to the left side of their body, just like this. And if my patient was face up, I would apply the tourniquet to the right side of their body, just like this. And the reason that we want the red tab going away from the person's heart or towards the outside of their body is because we want to have a process for how we apply the tourniquet. That way we do it the same way every time and there's no mistakes. And also, if you have to apply the tourniquet to yourself, the same rules apply. So I would apply the tourniquet, the red tab going towards the outside of my body. And by doing so in this manner, it's going to allow me to tighten down the tourniquet as tight as possible using the least amount of effort, getting the strap as tight as I can, because that means I'm going to have to do less work with the windlass. And now the windlass and the windlass clip are both within my view, and I can work on it right here. Now, the reason that I don't want the red tab going towards my heart is because once I put it on myself, there's going to be more opportunity when I go to tighten down the tourniquet for the windlass and the windlass clip to actually be almost concealed on the outside of my body, making it more difficult for me to tighten down the windlass. Or what else is likely going to happen is if I do see my windlass and my windlass clip, it's going to give me less leverage to turn the tourniquet to get that pressure I need to get the tourniquet tight, because I want to get this strap as tight as I can, because it means I'm going to have to do less work with the windlass, and we can mitigate both of those things happening if we just have the red tab going towards the outside of our heart.